Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the Parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the Parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the Parrot. Parrot TV.
Hi, I am Dustin Pickering from Parrot Literary Corner. You know me, your noble and honest host, and I've got exciting news for you. Last anthology, Series 1, The Literary Parrot, did such a great job. We want to continue to provide this community service to our viewers and to our contributors to the program. So please get up and get a copy immediately. You know, if you're in this book, you want to get a copy. If you're not in the book, you want to get a copy and see what we're doing. You want to be excited with us. We want you on this program, and we hope to see you sometime soon on The Literary Parrot. You have to get your hands on this copy. It's amazing. It's an absolutely beautiful anthology meant just for you. Our past guests have been invited back to contribute yet again to this Series 2. We do this quarterly anthology. We will be doing this after our 200 episode milestone. As of this last quarter, we reached 200 episodes, and past that, get up and get a copy immediately. This is the only TV show on earth for creative writers, and our guests are amazing. They're also community activists building from the ground up. This program is for everybody out there who is a creative mind. Order several copies if you can and donate to local libraries. Give them to your friends, cousins, fans, supporters, anybody that you think loves poetry. And it's not just poetry in this book. Remember, this is creative mind. So we have prose, fiction, short stories, essays, artwork, anything you can think of, artistically creative, photographs. Everything in this book is packed. It is packed. It is just absolutely packed. If you want to get your hands on it now, to World Inkers Network, a Parrot TV program. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host, and I would like to welcome to the program today Mr. Ron Whitehead. And Hunter S. Thompson said about Ron Whitehead, I have long admired Ron Whitehead. He is crazy as 9 loons, and his poetry is a dazzling mix of folk wisdom and pure mathematics. Quite a beautiful introduction. I'm going to bring him on the show. Welcome to the show as the darkness ensues here. I don't know what happened with the camera. That is frustrating, but we're going to go ahead and go forward with the interview and see maybe if the camera comes on or if whatever glitch there's going on the other end that happens to fix itself. So welcome to the program today, Ron. So tell us a little bit about some of your recent collaborations. You've been doing a lot of collaborative work.
Let's start with, I'm going straight. Bought myself a flat top haircut so stiff I can carry a tray of martinis, waiting on people, someone to open up her purse and give me a tip, because I don't have a clue anymore as to what's going on. But I do know that I'm one step ahead, tapping my own phone to hear myself talking with people who used to be my friends, listening so I can correct myself before they do. And I've got a surveillance camera in my abandoned car across the street, watching myself replaying the tape so I can see if I'm acting funny before they catch me doing something I shouldn't. Like yesterday, I spotted myself walking too fast and I heard myself talking too loud. Yes, I've got the deep fear, paranoia, anxiety, despair, and suicide blues, but I'm making sure I don't do nothing else wrong, because I done screwed up so many times I cornered myself into a backstreet dead-end alley of paranoia, and every time I hear an airplane or helicopter or car door slam, I know the Secret Service, the FBI, and the IRS SWAT teams have finally arrived, because I published a poem by the president of the United States of America without his fully conscious permission. And I'm sure I haven't paid enough taxes because I've got no income yet. Somehow I keep on doing things like eating every once in a while and paying a light bill or two. But how do I do it? They're going to ask, what's the source of your income and how come you don't come to see us anymore? So yes, I've become a little jumpy, but I'm staying one step ahead, tapping my own phone, videotaping my every move, watching myself day and night, replaying the tapes because I got a bad case of the deep fear, paranoia, anxiety, despair, and suicide blues. Dustin, I thought that'd be a good one to start the show on, since they're obviously they've tapped my face off the show here. I have no idea what has happened. I've never been on StreamYard. I reluctantly do Zoom. It just as
I have no clue what's going on either.
I've tried everything.
Maybe it's a universal blackout.
I don't know. My sweetheart Jen Bug got me a new little camera at the top of my screen. It's on. Everything. I've checked everything. Everything is set. I'm not sure. I'm not supposed to be. My image is not supposed to be revealed today, which is fine with me.
So you're basically like the Donald Trump of poetry today. You know, we're trying to keep you out of the spotlight.
You froze up there for a second. I missed any reference to me in the same category as Donald Trump.
Right. I totally understand that.
It's not necessarily a good thing.
Not necessarily a good thing. Right. Just, the taboo of Donald Trump, and then the blackout. Maybe he's out to get you. He knows you're his enemy. So he's blacking you out.
Yeah. Well, I would love to meet Donald Trump in person.
So tell us a little bit about, I saw a recent post. Really? Wow, that's interesting. Shake his hand.
I'd like to. I'm not going to say what I like to do. Go right ahead.
Well, I noticed there was a post recently you made about authenticity of how do you relate that to your work? I mean, what is an authentic self? It's a question I pursue in my own art, in my own thinking. What does it mean to be authentic? How do you know when you're authentic and when you're playing a game, or something,
Well, that's a good question. I hope you keep asking yourself that. It's one of the primary, maybe it's the primary, at least initial struggle that we have as poets and writers and people is to move to question everything. First of all, everything that has been crammed into us, starting from the earliest age, to question everything everyone tells us, no matter who they are, but especially to question ourselves. Why do we hold the beliefs and practices we do, and what's the source of everything that motivates and inspires us to live our lives and to live them fully? And so I started that process early on, questioning myself in particular, and then everybody else, from parents to teachers to preachers and priests and government officials and everybody else, just trying to get to the source of life. What is the meaning of life for me? And so over time, I studied all the world's religions, and I started with studying history and all the various spiritualities and belief and non-belief systems, and I started asking myself, I realized there's so many people with a false sincerity, even people who do good works, who help other people. And I always ask myself, well, why are they helping other people? Is it out of pity? Is it out of compassion? Are they able to put themselves in other folks' shoes, or are they doing it to appease some form of guilt that is in them? And there's a multitude of reasons and why people do such things. And pity is often one of them. And that's a false sincerity as far as I'm concerned. And so I had to keep digging, because all I ever want to be is a genuine, authentic person. For me, I graduated from high school when I was 17. I left home, and once I got 2,000 miles away from the farm I grew up on in Kentucky, I lived in Arizona for a time, and I was finally able to start seeing more clearly beyond the anger I was carrying with me, related to my upbringing for a multitude of reasons. I started being able to see the goodness and the beauty that I experienced in nature and in people, in family and friends. And I started having dreams, and I started writing down my earliest experiences that I could remember when I was a boy, 5 years old. And that was the beginning of me finding my original authentic voice as a poet and a writer. And so I realized that there is a process for discovering that voice. And the first step in that process is to go back to the beginning of your life, and which is what I did, and fully embrace the good and the bad, and write those stories down. And I dropped out. I went to college for 3 years, and I was too wild, and I got a history major, a philosophy minor, but I just couldn't handle professors, particularly professors who, there were too many of them, who kept saying, there's no such thing as an original thought. It's all been said and done before. And I always call bullshit on that, because all you got to do is look around you, start with computers, look at all of the new innovations that we have coming into this world that us humans are birthing every day. And so, yes, there is such a thing as original thought. And then I realized that we all have a nonstop river of creative fire flowing through us, but it's society and culture, civilization that forces it, that bleeds it, that drains it out of us. And so we have to begin the process of unlearning everything that was force-fed into us, and get back to that natural state that we had as children, and begin again to look at the world with an open heart, with open arms, with a naivety, with wonder, and with a genuine, authentic state of being. And so that's some of what I'm talking about when I mention authenticity, being open, being honest, not playing mind games. You know, I was blessed to write a poem in April of 1994 with the Dalai Lama, titled Never Give Up. And part of that is too much energy in the world has been developing the mind instead of the heart. Develop the heart. And so that experience with the Dalai Lama was a life-changing. And it really hit home to me the fact that the heart is the truth tester, and no matter how much we dwell in the mind, and that's where we spend our time in schools, in the mind only.
Mhm.
Whatever we create there in the mind is the builder. Yes, we build and we create in the mind, but unless we send that through the heart to test it for the truth, that's the home of our intuition. And unless we do that, it's going to ring false. It may ring false. It will likely ring false from a gut level, an emotional level, to the reader, the listener. And so I stayed out of school, staying on the same subject here. I stayed out of school for 10 years. I worked every kind of job imaginable. And from washing dishes to construction to management to you name it, it's a long list. And then I wanted to discover what I wanted to do in life more than anything else. What was my dream? And so I finally realized what my dream was. And so I started 40 years ago, over 40 years ago, building a bridge, taking one step at a time from where I was to where I wanted to be, to living and being my dream. And so eventually, it took me 8 years to build that bridge. And eventually I taught college and university for 20 years. And so I was looking out at the class in those early days of teaching college at the University of Louisville and looking at students. Some were engaged, some were lackadaisically so, some enthusiastically so, some were drifting off, a couple were dozing off. And so I thought to myself, how in the hell, what can I do to help all these young people find their voice as genuine, authentic poets, writers, and human beings, especially, no matter what they do in life. And so I started asking people, students, professors, people on the street, what's your favorite poem, song, film, a couple other arts-related subjects. And the responses revealed to me that more than anything, what was folks liked the best, their favorite poems and songs and movies, incorporated, those poems and songs and movies incorporated what it meant to be fully human. They weren't just mind games. As fun as mind games can be, I used to get so frustrated at professors who just lived in the mind. And sometimes I just saw brains floating down the halls where their offices were. And I wanted to grab those brains and smack them and say, hey, you got to remember that you have a body. You have all these other beings inside that yourself. And you got to remember that. And then I would go to academic poetry readings, and I would have to drink extra coffee to stay awake because they're so damn boring, because there are good poets, a few good poets in those readings, but most of them were monotonous as hell. And so what they had forgotten was that poetry must have the energy of life in it. The ancient skalds and poets, bards, traveled from village to village. They were the original historians. They listened to the stories of people's lives. They turned them into poems, which they often expressed as songs, with sometimes with musical accompaniment, the voice being the oldest instrument of all. So they sang some of those poems like William Blake did, like Allen Ginsberg sang some of Blake's poems. And because they realized the value of entertainment, they wanted to maintain. If they didn't entertain their audiences, people would throw tomatoes and apples at them. and they wouldn't invite him back. So entertainment is part of the process of being an original, authentic, genuine poet and skald and bard. So anyway, where did we start? What was your question? Where do you want to go from here?
Authenticity.
Yeah.
What about, how do you differentiate between an artist's legacy and the actual truth of the human being? As you talk about being fully human, there's a lot of hype behind an artist a lot of time. When they make the movie, they make it exciting.
The cult of personality.
And original, but
Yes,
it's also, does that mask the author or the writer?
Yes.
Or the artist? Yeah.
Yes, that's a good question.
How do we differentiate?
Today, in particular, because of social media, the cult of personality often, frequently, too often, attracts more attention than the bedrock of inquiry, which is the art itself. And so I always encourage people to maintain a focus on the art itself, on Allen Ginsberg's writing of Hal and other poems, which was published in 1956 by my friend Lawrence Ferlinghetti of City Lights Pocket Poets series. Focus on the work of the actual writing of Jack Kerouac's On the Road, of Hunter S. Thompson's writing of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Go beyond the cult of personality. What I did, I've done it all my life, before I taught, while I taught, since I taught. If I find a writer whose work I like, I read everything by that author I can get my hands on, and then, either then or simultaneously, I'll read everything about the author I can get my hands on as well. Biographies, whatever's been written about them. But why? Because I'm interested. Be an autodidact, be self-taught. I have been self-taught more than I have gone to school and learned. And I came to an awareness that if I wanted to be in a position, I wanted to know what all those academics, those people who make the rules, the members of the MLA, the Modern Language Association, the professors, the academics, the scholars, I wanted to know what they were thinking, why they were thinking what they were thinking. And I wanted to be able to debate with them, to argue if I disagreed, or perhaps I would agree with where to place a comma, for example, which is a big debate often. And these are the cats who make the rules according to the grammatical rules. And I can't stand grammar, but I studied it just as I studied Scansion, the terrible grammar of poetry, because I wanted to know everything I could, and still do and always will, about poetry and prose, about literature. Why? Because I love poetry, I love prose, I love literature, I love the arts, all of it. I want to know everything I can about it. I'm curious. And so I learn on my own because of my curiosity and my desire to know. Therefore, I'm more of an autodidact. I'm self-taught more than anything else, although I do have the book learning as well. But that book learning is, as far as I'm concerned, secondary to everything I learn out of the eagerness of my desire to know. Okay.
Right.
If I get sidetracked, I believe life is a tangent.
No, it's actually, what you're saying is very interesting because, yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely a tangent. You go from one point to the next and you don't know what the next point is sometimes.
Life is a tangent and all things show it. I thought so once, but now I know it. And I would often, when I would start, a student would ask me a question. I would give a response, and then I would think of something connected to that response, and I would go out on the tangent, and I would often get have to ask the student, now, what did you ask? And to get back to where we started. And, I raised, when I started, during those 8 years of building that bridge, I worked 2 and 3 jobs. I slept 3 hours a night, and I drank 15 to 20 cups of coffee a day. And then I kept that up when I started teaching college, because I was doing my creative work fully, producing events, publishing titles. And so when my kids were grown, at one holiday celebration, they said, "Dad, we want to tell you that when we were growing up, we always told any new friend we brought over, before going in the house, whatever you do, don't ask our dad even one question, or we won't have time to play." And so I I will go off on one thing leads to another. Everything is interconnected. Okay, what do you want to talk about now?
So, what is art's role in challenging established views, the establishment? How do we do that? How do we go about that, and why do you think that's necessary?
Say that again. A message just flashed up on my window here, and I'm not.
It was a comment from one of our viewers.
Okay, and I appreciate the comment. I appreciate that comment. But
what I'm asking is, what is art's role?
Well.
Huh? I'm sorry?
No, I heard you. Okay, let me respond to that. What is art's role?
Right.
Well, that's a good question. And it's been said that by a great poet, that poets are the real legislators, and rather than politicians. And I was blessed to have many long conversations with Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and we did a good deal of work together, and we both agreed that we get our news. I keep up with the news, even though I can't stand politics. I'm against war, all war, but I'm not naive. I keep up with politics because I want to know what's going on. But the real news I get comes from poetry, and I read poetry from poets at all levels of writing, beginning poets, people who've been doing it, people who are digging hard and growing, and people who aren't digging hard enough, and people are considered the greats. I read all their work because poets are open and honest, and they tell it like it is, and even when it's brutal. Sometimes it's beautiful, it's immaculate, and sometimes it's just gruesome, and it's death on the sidewalk, in the woods. It's and so I trust poets. I don't trust any government. I do believe in democracy, and I do believe in keeping our democracy and making it better than it ever has been, because it's never lived up to its ideal, but no government has. And so we're standing to jump off into stepping sideways into political realm. We're at a threshold here in regards to the keeping democracy alive. And so I haven't been as critical of government, of our government, as I normally would be, because now I just want our government to survive. I want democracy to survive, and we have stepped into this like a twilight zone beyond any of my wildest imaginings. When you have 70 million people brainwashed, like Jim Jones. Some people don't even know who the hell he was, but he had a few hundred. He brainwashed a few hundred people. Well, this cat, Donald Trump, and I don't know how it happened. I've thought about it. Was it some subliminal advertising and Rush Limbaugh's programs? Is that how it started? You know, how in the hell did all these good people get brainwashed this way? I don't understand it, but it has happened. And here we are on the verge of another uncivil war. And I sure as hell hope that doesn't happen, but it looks to me like there is going to be bloodshed. So art can be, should be, provide, at least point the way to salvation, to our way out of and away from death and destruction, even though we're all going to die, yes, but there's too much unnecessary early death as a result of war, violence, hatred, and anger. And so I'm always working hard, and I know poets around the world are, to bring the peace, love, and understanding into this world, even when we're critical of those who are working and dwelling in the realms of hate. In any manifestation of hate. So anyway, art has the potential, even though, you know, I've studied Tristan Tzara. I started the 1916, the Dada movement, the anti-art movement, because there we were in the middle of the First World War, the war to end all wars, and poetry and art had not saved us from all that doom and destruction. And Dada weaved its way into surrealism, and sometimes the only sense you can make out of anything is the logic of hallucination and of just the strangeness, the bizarreness of life on this planet and in this world. But I hold firmly to my belief that art, that poetry, that poets, that artists, musicians, singers, songwriters, filmmakers, that we can at least play a huge role in saving us from ourselves, in delivering us from climate change, from the global catastrophe of a World War III, which we all know will be a nuclear holocaust. And then we're going to dive right straight into the post-apocalyptic nightmare. So that's my view of the potential of art. And the least I can do on a daily basis is to listen to people's stories and poems and artworks and view them, and go to the local shelter and give those poor dogs a walk and spend a little time with them, and visit the old folks at the rest homes and spend a little time with them, and bring a little bit of comfort into this world, and keep writing poems.
Absolutely.
That's about all I know to do. What you have one more? You have one more question?
That's all you can do. I think poetry, and specifically poetry, all of it. I was just going to comment, like, kind of, you know, speak on what you were talking about. Like, it has ability. Poetry and the arts have the ability to bridge divides between people, I think. And you mentioned Tristan Zara, you know, and the Dadaists, and how that was kind of a reaction to the art not being able to mediate the reality of war, and so, you know, but it kind of maybe it did have an impact in some way.
I think eventually it did. I think eventually it did.
Society at large, and of course we have a lot of yeah. I mean, what would life be without art? I mean, it would be artifice, you know. I mean, it wouldn't be anything. It would be just, you know, there would be no. I mean, there just would be nothing worth living for. No beauty, no enrichment, no knowledge, you know, no exploration.
Without the creative arts, we would all be the Walking Dead. Do you have anything?
Right, I totally agree.
Do you have anything? Do you have another question? We've said enough, I think.
We're cutting down to the last 5 minutes or so of the interview, but thank you so much. I'm sorry about the technical glitch here.
It's quite all right. If you want to show any of this later, grab a photo and just put it up there. Whatever you'd like to do instead of just the blank page. But I appreciate you having me on, Dustin.
Right.
It's been an honor.
Just say, you know, this is our protest. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been wonderful having you, and thanks to Frederick Ariarte and his collaborations with you, and you know, he wanted me to interview you and I was glad to do that.
I'm honored. I'm honored to have worked with Frederick. He's a brilliant young man from Sweden there, and I hope to meet him in person one of these days. And I have been blessed to work with incredible and continue to collaborate with brilliant musicians and creative artists from all over the world. And so I thoroughly enjoyed the work that we did together. We did a lot of work together, and I'm blessed to do a lot of work with creative artists all over the world. I'm always, the more I work and collaborate with people, the more inspired I am. So I'm thankful for Frederick and for everybody else I work with. And that includes you. Thank you, Dustin. Thanks
Absolutely.
for having me on here.
Just collaborations are what make life interesting.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show today, and have a great afternoon, and get to doing your best writing and just speak out against the injustice of the world and everything we're doing today. You know, wonderful. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Ron.
Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
You've been watching World Inkers Network. That was Ron White. I believe my Wi-Fi is also problematic. But thank you so much for watching the show, everyone. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. And subscribe to our channel. If you have not subscribed, please do. I advise you to do so. And I hope you will continue to watch the show at different times. And let me get my closing up show here. You know, hey, get your writing, guys. Just start doing some writing. Think about the world you're living in. And thank you to Ron Whitehead, Frederick Ariarte. Thank you so much for bringing us back together. Have an excellent day. Get your writing. Thank you.
Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the Parrot. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Parrot TV. Listen to the people. Listen to humanity. Listen to the